Are you going to do that skit for your YouTube video about autistic inertia? No, I can't be bothered. Hello, I hope you're well. Someone asked me to do a video about autistic inertia, and I finally decided to do it. In his own video about autistic inertia, Orion Kelly refers to Isaac Newton's first law of motion, also known as the law of inertia, which states that an object in motion will remain in motion and an object at rest will remain at rest unless acted upon by an external force. So in his video, Orion refers to inertia as a difficulty in starting and completing tasks, and this is a major bugbear of my life, starting tasks, just getting going. I referred to this in a live stream quite recently. I'm always writing lists in my diary, in my paper diary, and I just really struggle to get round to actually starting what I've set myself as goals. And these aren't like massively difficult things to achieve. It's a combination of errands and projects, things that I want to do, and I really struggle to get started, and I get overwhelmed by what I've set myself to do. There's too many things, and I think that's related to being an ADHDer as well as being autistic. I just get excited by new things and I add those new things to my list, and then I got overwhelmed by the size of the list, and then I keep parking things until they're never done. So, I really do experience autistic/ADHD inertia, if inertia does indeed mean a difficulty in getting things started. And I completely understand how inertia relates to not being able to finish things as well. And again, I would relate that to ADHD because I get distracted by new ideas, new tasks, and finishing things is a real difficulty for me as well. Orion also said that inertia can be a complete disinterest in activities that bring you joy or indeed once brought you joy. And this is a really interesting concept and slightly depressing, and I think that's really the point I want to make. When I've not wanted to do things that have in the past brought me joy, I've generally ascribed that to feeling depressed. And now I know that I'm autistic, I can also link that unwillingness to do what has in the past brought me joy to autistic burnout as well. There's a lot going on with inertia. There's a lot linked to it, and this video could possibly be 3 hours long. I really need to do a bit more thinking about the related concepts of pathological demand avoidance, executive function, or executive dysfunction. There are so many themes related to inertia, and I'm not going to cover them all in this video. Potentially we'll tackle those themes in separate videos. I completely see how inertia can also be a reluctance to leave a safe or peaceful environment. And an example I'm going to share is, perhaps unfairly going to refer to my son. Every day or most days I have to nag him to play his guitar, to practice his guitar. And I used to think until I was researching this video, thinking about this video, I actually just thought that he was not being obstructive, but just, didn't want to do it because he was playing on his device and speaking with his friends, and he's entitled to do that. I mean, he works hard at school, and, I appreciate that. So in the evening when he gets back from school and I ask him to play his guitar, but until literally days ago, I used to think you just don't want to do it because you're playing on your device and you want to speak with your friends instead. And having, watched Orion's video and other autistic inertia videos, I'm kind of cutting my son a little bit more slack because I understand that autistic inertia is a thing. It's manifested in different ways, as I've already referred to so far in the video. And inertia as being a reluctance to leave an activity or a physical space because it brings you peace. I can completely understand that. And it relates to that difficulty in starting a task, doing something new when you're already in the middle of something. So I'm going to try to be a bit more understanding with my son, having learned more about autistic inertia. And I should have said at the beginning that my son is autistic like his dad. He's not got an official diagnosis. He's on a pathway to get that diagnosis, and hopefully that diagnosis will come sooner rather than later. But he's autistic, and autistic inertia is something that he experiences as well as something that I experience. My favourite part of the video by Orion, which I keep referring to for good reason because it's a great video, is his point that inertia is also an inability to stop repetitive behaviours, because an inability to stop repetitive behaviours is you at rest because you're continuing to do the same thing. It's a constant motion, and because it's a constant motion, you're at rest. You're not being disturbed. And I absolutely love that. And I just wanted to steal it, basically. I just wanted to repeat what Orion said. So yeah, it really got me thinking. He expressed it much better than I'm expressing it now. But I wanted to highlight it because it's another manifestation of autistic inertia. And I think it's worth repeating. And linked to everything I've said so far, autistic inertia is also a reluctance to change plans. And I think this is what I would call a classic autistic trait. We set a plan and we want to stick to it. But I think it's worth mentioning in the context of a video about autistic inertia because it relates to that unwillingness to change an activity because the activity is bringing you peace, you're in control, and you don't want to change that situation, those circumstances, because you're autistic, you like to be in control of your environment, and not wanting to change plans, a reluctance to change plans is an example of autistic inertia because you're committed to that plan, and being wrenched away from the plan that you set yourself is a disturbance of motion. It's unsettling, and you don't want to change your plan because that would upset you. So inertia sets in, I suppose. Another great video I saw about autistic inertia was by Neurodiverging. So I would really urge you to check it out. It's a really good video, just like Orion's. And one thing that's said in this video about autistic inertia is a difficulty in resuming tasks after interruption. And this is something that I really, really struggle with. And I had no idea until very recently that it was to do with me being autistic. So, for example, interruption, my wife just wants to speak with me. I mean, how dare she? We're married. She wants to spend time with me. She wants to ask me something. I know, it's mad. Or she will have made me a cup of tea and she'll knock on the door and gently open the door. And I say gently because she knows that when I'm interrupted, I tend to flare up. And I'm not aggressive, just that burst of irritation, like, oh no, I'm being interrupted. I was in the middle of something, probably writing a YouTube video. And I just really, really struggled to deal with that interruption. And I just have to bring myself down as fast as I can, and say, thank you for that cup of tea, or how can I respond to your request? And probably inadvertently coming across as rather passive aggressive. And I'm not trying to be aggressive. I don't want to react in that way. But that disruption from one activity, being disrupted doing an activity, being asked to do something else in an instant is not something that I can do very well at all. And that comes back to autistic inertia. You're in a flow state, you're in a constant state of motion. And being disrupted from that path is unsettling and, it hurts my brain. So I'd rather just do one thing and then another thing. Although thinking out loud, that makes it sound like doing one thing and then another thing is easy. But autistic inertia means that it's not easy because, as I've said, autistic inertia is also difficulty in completing tasks as well as starting tasks. So in the same neurodiverging video, a point is made about perfectionism. Focusing on finding the best way to get something done can actually be the one thing that prevents it being done at all. This is probably an entirely separate video. That notion of perfectionism, and thinking out loud again, it probably would relate to OCD, obsessive compulsive disorder. And I think I'm an undiagnosed OCDer as well as an ADHDer, autistic ADHDer. Add OCD to that as well, because I have many times in my life been fixated on achieving perfection, or my concept of perfection, getting things absolutely right. I've done it with previous YouTube videos. I mean, you won't know that, but when you'll know they're not perfect because you've watched my videos, and they're very far from perfect. But believe it or not, when I'm editing, I have an idea about what is a good video. And I spend way too long trying to perfect videos, believe it or not. And that's not obviously an efficient way of getting things completed by focusing on very, very tiny details. So perfectionism / OCD, it relates to autistic inertia, because speaking for myself, sometimes I'm getting better, I think, with YouTube, but most times in the past with YouTube, I've tried to achieve perfection, and it's meant that I've not been able to complete things when I want to complete them. And the getting started on a video, unless everything is aligned, I've got the time, the environment, the script, trying to line everything up, thinking of all sorts of factors involved in making a video it just prevents or delays something getting done. I'm going to talk about strategies for overcoming autistic inertia or trying your best to do that. But I just have to do my best to push through the inertia, the perfectionism to achieve what I want to achieve. I'm going to share another quote from the neurodiverging video. The shame-fueled pressure to function at a neurotypical level can lead to dread and autistic burnout. This makes it even more difficult to gain momentum when you're already feeling depleted. I mean, that shame-fueled pressure to be neurotypical is definitely a video in its own right, if not several videos. I just wanted to highlight that quote because it can be another impediment to doing things that you want to do but just can't, because you're comparing yourself to someone who's neurotypical with different abilities and skills, different ability to focus and ignore sensory distractions. By comparing yourself to a neurotypical person, you're going to impede your ability to get things done. So that's a really glib way of summarizing the quote that I've just shared. But it's a wonderful quote and possibly a theme that I'll return to in another video. I keep stacking up these videos, and will they ever get done? Well, it depends on autistic inertia, I suppose. So I was also a bit glib when I just talked about pushing through autistic inertia. If it was that easy, then every single autistic person would just push through. It would be a matter of sheer willpower. So I'm going to row back a bit on that statement. It's not about willpower. There are strategies to overcome autistic inertia, and different strategies will work for different people, of course. I'm not sitting here saying if you followed the following strategies, then autistic inertia will go away. Not at all. It's take it or leave it. Well, I'm going to share some strategies, firstly from neurodiverging again, and I'll come back to another couple of suggestions that I hope will be useful. So in the neurodiverging video, these are 3 strategies for dealing with autistic inertia. Complete tasks in one action block, body doubling, and be kind to yourself to help you stay motivated. So complete tasks in one action block, I have found useful. So I mentioned my diary, and I've got this list that's written in the corner of the page in spidery writing that I can barely read. And I say, right, come on, you've got 4 tasks, you've got an hour, let's go. And then just get them done. And that has worked. But if it was that easy, I would just do it all the time. Body doubling. So it can be a good way to keep me focused on what I need to do. So for example, my wife will be in the same room reading a book or writing reports for her job. And just her being in the room will sort of hold me to account. I won't just whip out my phone and get distracted with Twitter or X or whatever it's called. I'll think, no, I better stick to the task that I've set myself, because otherwise my wife will be looking at me going, what, are you actually going to do what you said you were going to do? So body doubling can be an effective way of overcoming autistic inertia. And be kind to yourself to stay motivated. Absolutely. That comes back to what I said about not comparing yourself to a neurotypical person and feeling ashamed that you can't do what they can do. Be kind to yourself. You are autistic. You have a different brain. You have different abilities. You have different needs. Be kind to yourself. Don't try and do what you can't do. If you're kind to yourself, you're more likely to stay motivated and do the tasks that you want to do. Another suggestion for overcoming autistic inertia or dealing with autistic inertia is setting yourself a reward. Now, that's my own, although I'm sure, well, of course, it's not a particularly original suggestion. But within that setting a reward for yourself, I think you can, a reward could be to remind yourself of the impact that completing that task would have on people you love. So for your family, for example. So the reward isn't necessarily buying yourself something. It's, if I do this task or these tasks, these are the positive impacts on people around me. And that can apply at home, at work, in the autism community. Tell yourself, if I do these things, the reward is that people will be happy. I'm not saying that's an easy fix for autistic inertia, but I do think it's a strategy worth bearing in mind. And last night, bizarrely, while I was on my phone, as usual, just before bed, I saw this video by a Scottish comedian called Limmy, and it's called Do You Struggle to Get Things Done? I'm not sure about Limmy's neurodivergence, whether he is neurodivergent. I'm guessing he is. He's a highly creative, very amusing, and very sweary comedian. The very fact that he made this video suggests to me that he recognizes that he's an ADHDer who struggles to complete tasks. But, that's just something that I'm guessing based on previous videos that he's made and his comedy profile. He might well be autistic. I don't know. But anyway, the video was very fortuitous because I was thinking about making this video and I thought I'd share one of his tips, or hit the main tip that he was elaborating on in this video, to help people do tasks that they want to do and which they keep putting off. And let me suggest setting a timer. So, you've got a certain amount of things to do or a particular task. He suggests that set yourself a timer, like an alarm. And he's found that to be motivating. So, he refers to a task. I think he had to book an appointment or a holiday, I can't remember now. And he said to himself, right, I'm going to do this in 10 minutes. Now, it took him an hour and 24 minutes. But he said the point was that by initially setting a timer, like giving himself 10 minutes, once he was stuck into the task, it didn't matter that it took him an hour and 24 minutes by the end of it. Setting himself that specific period of time to do the task motivates him to get started. And autistic inertia is about struggling to start tasks. So giving himself a specific time, or setting a timer, like setting yourself an alarm, if that's the case, can be really useful because it'll get you started, and it might take longer than you anticipated, but you've started the task, and you're obviously more likely to finish a task if you start it. And someone commented under the YouTube video by Limmy, and they said, trying to gamify your life gives an incentive to boring tasks. And this really resonated with me because without sort of consciously doing this, I tried to make life a bit more exciting when it really shouldn't need to be more exciting. I should just do the things that I need to do. But I thrive on a deadline. This relates to ADHD. I have found myself racing against the clock so many times. I like the excitement of having to do something fast and feeling some weird sense of accomplishment that I've been able to do it very quickly when I could have done it hours or days or weeks before that point. This, again, is probably another video about, being autistic, being ADHD, being an ADHDer, and trying to get things done. So thank you for listening. If you've got any other examples of autistic inertia or think that I should have said something else about that subject, then please let me know in the comments or email me. Any ideas for other videos, also do the same. Email me, add a comment underneath this video. Share this video if you think someone would benefit from it, and I'll see you for the next one. Bye.